Hey, Ray, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and we're continuing to work on the front end of our application. And this one we're going to do is create the ability to, well, first let's actually clean up our URLs. Okay, so how do I want to do this? Let's just do it this way. We're going to create a variable called const base URL, which is going to equal, and the test we're going to do is we're going to see if we're passing in that dev, so process.env.node environment. And again, in our script, we're passing, oh no, we're not passing that in this case. Let me think. How do I want to catch that? Now here's what I will do. For now, since I can't think of a good test because it's too early in the morning, I'll just simply hard code it as true, and if it's true, it would be whatever our Heroku URL is. Actually, we'll use our local host. So just up to here. Okay, so we'll put that in there. And if not, it'll be our Heroku URL, which we don't have yet. So then what happens when we deploy the production, we'll just change that to false. But the benefit of that is now I can do this. Change this to backticks. And then it would just be slash, basically the base URL, and then index. And that becomes the URL, which is a lot. And then later on, when we get the Heroku URL, I just toggle it up there, and it just toggles all my routes. So that way I don't have to do too much editing later. And I can toggle between them when I need to. And I'm not putting a slash because I already have the slash right there. Save. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of get that out of the way, so that's nice and cleaned up going forward. Now we're going to create a handle edit function, because we're going to start building out our edit const handle. Actually, I probably should just copy this function over here because it's pretty much the same deal. Again, it's going to take the ID and the data. That's what this will take. ID and the data. And basically what this one will do is the same thing, except it's going to be update slash this should be handle edit ID. So essentially this is going to update that particular one, and that's going to be a put route, and the body's still just the data. And what we want to do here is a little bit more complicated. In this case, what we're going to want to do is redo get persons, because we want to get it. the result of our put route currently doesn't give us back the new edited person, so I'd rather just go get the full list again. So what we'll do here is we're just going to use the get persons function again and just refresh the entire list. Not the ideal way of doing it. I'd rather just edit the array. It's a little bit less an intensive operation, but that's what we're going to do. Get persons, and that should do it. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to create another h1 that says edit form. Okay, click on person to edit. Okay, we'll create that functionality in a second. But essentially what this is going to do is going to create another form. The handle submit function we're going to send in is going to equal the handle edit. Then we need to pass in the ID person ID. So I'll just call it PID. Is going to equal something we don't know yet, so we do need to create that functionality to select a person first. So we need to create a new state that equals that person's ID. So we're going to create a new piece of state. Okay. And we'll call it PID. And then we'll call it set PID. Actually, no. We'll call it the chosen, so the chosen person. And then we'll say set chosen. And this will equal a new piece of state, use state. And right now it is an empty object. Okay. Save. And let's see here. So that's where we'll save the chosen person. So we need to create a button that'll choose that person. So we need to create a function to enable that. So const choose me equals, it's just the function, and then what we're going to do is just set chosen. Actually, we do need to, we want to pass in the person. I'm going to do set chosen to whoever that person is. And let's see here. I don't want to do that. Oh, I see how I want to do this. Okay. Cool. So we'll do it when you click on the name. So we'll say on click. So when you click on the name of a person, it will trigger a function. So I'm going to pass in an arrow function here instead of writing a whole separate function just for this. And what this function will do is run the choose me function and pass in the person, the current person being selected. So that way that whole person's in there. Nice. Okay, so you click on a person's name and it'll select that person, so that way they can be editable. And then we pass down, and then we can go back over here. The PID will be the chosen dot ID. sure that's what that is called. So you see these components get bigger as we add all this stuff in there. Chosen.id. So we're passing in that person's ID down to the form. Cool. And now we just need to change our form component to make sure that it can handle if those details get submitted. Form. So essentially what we want to do is change the form data to match the editable person if that person exists. So what we're going to do is just do a if props dot pid actually here's what I'll do. I'm going to destructure. Let's just go back here, because again, that's going to be the whole person, not just the ID anymore. Actually, I do want the whole person sent down. So I'm just going to call it P, the person. And I just want to send down the whole person, chosen, because I need all that data. Okay. And basically what I do want is I want to take the ID out. So we're going to do the object destruction. ID. And then the remainder of the properties, because I want the other three properties, which are the name, age. I want that because I'm going to be putting that inside the form data state. So I want that to be in, we'll call it the rest. Okay. And then that's all going to come from props.p. And if the rest is not undefined, then what I want is to set the form data to equal, and just to be 100% sure, I'm going to console log these things. Okay, the rest. Oh, I don't need the 3 dots here. Okay, so if the rest, set form data, and form data will become the rest, which is fine with me. And then here in our handle submit, we need to change that depending on if. So if underscore ID is not null, we'll have one situation. Else we'll do what we were doing before, because that's the create situation where there is no ID, because we're not editing an existing person. So cut, and then here the only difference here is I'm going to want the ID passed in first, because I'm pretty sure that's how we created that handle edit function. Handle edit, yeah, ID, then the data. So essentially, if there is an ID, it is going to run the edit version of what it passes into the handle submit function. And if it's not, then it'll do this one, which is the create version. Okay, and then again, the data will just populate automatically because it's feeding off what's inside set form data. And we're just going to set the form data to whatever the value of that is if we decide to edit. So I think we're good. Let's take a look. Okay, get some errors. Okay, cannot read property ID of undefined. That was on. Okay, yeah, I created an infinite loop somewhere. Do. Okay, so first thing to deal with is over here. The chosen. Choose me person. When you on click, so you have to click on the person, and that's going to set the chosen to the person. That's in a function. That's function. Did I do it the first time? I have a feeling this is what's triggering it, because this is creating a loop. So I need to make this a one-time thing. Or we can do this. We can just do it here. So what we'll do is name will either be, so the rest dot name question mark. If that exists, then the rest dot name is what that's worth. If not, then it's an empty string. And we're just going to do the same thing here and here. So now this will be location. And this will be age. Okay, let's see if that still breaks. Okay. Form.js 6. Const ID. So we should just make this something that happens if props.p so that way it doesn't try to destructure a variable that doesn't exist if it doesn't exist. .9 console log, I leave the rest. Okay, I'm trying the console log stuff that doesn't exist. So what I'm gonna do there is cut that. And so here, and this is where always things get fun, because you gotta be careful what exists when it exists. Form 12. How about this? We just do it this way. Let me just see if the rest exists at all. Okay, we're getting there. The rest is not defined on line 12. Let's make this props.p, because it wouldn't even get to this point if props doesn't exist. So I see if that works better. So is there. Okay, so again, that's definitely a lot better. So now we just need to form line 12. Let's see if I do this. It's just trying to get the right turn array so it doesn't try to access that rest unless it exists. That age. Still. Yeah, but otherwise it says like the rest doesn't exist. Or I could just do this. Get rid of the rest from here. We won't even worry about that. We'll just use everything from props.p, which is probably what it should just do from the beginning. I'll leave the ID because I do use that. And then props.p, and then this will just become C. Let's try this. Save. Save that for a moment. That should at least get it back to working. Yep, so there's our edit form person. And then if I click on this, yep, so see now we can edit that person, but I want to fill the form with their data in that situation. So that's an idea. ID. Let's use the ID. Props.p .name. Let me just copy this same initial logic. ID props.p.location, and this should be a number, but props.p.age, I'll put 0. See, does that that better? Boo, still give me the same thing. I really don't want to break it up into two components. It just seems like a waste to to create two form components when what they do is so minorly different. I just want to populate the data with that. Or we could do this. Control Z. Cut. So I only want that once. So this is the case. Then in that situation, I want to set form data, and then just do it from here. But no, I want to do that in the UseEffect hook, so it only happens once, so I don't create another infinite loop. No, let's first try it without. Name. Name would be props.p.name. Location would be props.p.location. And age would be props.p.age. Okay, let's save that. Yep, no, I created a loop. So let's do a UseEffect hook. UseEffect. Because we only want it to happen once. No dependencies at the moment. And then there, we do that. Save. And let's see here, because again, UseEffect makes sure something only happens once. So there's that. Oh, I never destructured UseEffect. Let's see what happens if I click on Bob. So let's put props.p as a dependency. If I click on Bob, there we go, haha. And then if I change Bob the cheese, friends ID is not defined. Okie dokie. That's on form 30. Should be. Oh, because it's in the brackets. That's right. So how do I want to do that? This is going to have to be a var. That's the only way that's going to work. Okay. because of block scoping. Okay, so now if I click on Bob, now I can edit Bob. Let's say Bob is now from cheese. I hit submit, and now Bob is from cheese. So we can edit it now. Yeah, and so we're using the same form. I'm just using 2 instances of that component. It took a little while to kind of, so let's see what the lesson learned is here. Is that again, that when certain data may not always exist, you have to make sure you put in tests so that way you're not using data that doesn't exist in certain situations. So in this case, I had to check, did a p prop get passed in? If a p prop did get passed in, I destructure the ID. I'm going to do this UseEffect hook because the UseEffect hook only happens once, although I do want to change it every time we change the chosen person. So anytime the p prop changed, then we ran this effect again. So now if I click on Alex over here, see, it switches it over because the p prop changed, but it doesn't repeat it over and over and over again because the p prop didn't necessarily change. So that allows me to repeat this UseEffect thing. And that's a great thing about UseEffect. It happens once unless one of the dependencies changes. So you can select exactly what is the trigger of that change. And then again, so what it does is that if the p prop exists, it's going to set the form to instead of blanks, it's to whatever the person I chose is. And then now when I click the form, because again in the second, see, I use the form twice. In the second one, I passed it a different function. So it calls the edit function when I click on that submit button. When I click on the create submit button, it runs that function. And only in form do I actually pass in the p prop. I don't pass that in the create form, so it doesn't run all that. Whew. Okay, so that was a little trickier than I expected, but we got it.